Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Dan Fisher, Principal Executive Producer and Director of Bottle Rocket Media, a multi-million dollar video production company. And we'll learn from him about how to craft compelling video content, leverage SEO, and use data driven storytelling to grow your brand with impact. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Dan. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll learn from you about how one can grow their brand with video and SEO. We'll learn all this. But first, let's learn a bit about your background, your journey, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
My journey started in New York, where I'm from originally. And after graduating college, I went out to Los Angeles and worked in the film industry, creating music videos, commercials, indie films, and fell into the magical world of editing, which brought me to Chicago to work on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And from there, really sort of fell in love with the concept of storytelling and how it affects the audience. And when the Oprah Show was over, my business partner and I, who also was at the Oprah Show, decided to keep the party going by starting Bottle Rocket Media in 2011.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's come to understand this. In today's time, you talk about video. Is video old, or is video now getting into a new shape altogether? How should we understand video in the times of Sora and so many things that are about to come?
So it's actually a tricky question to answer. I think it's never been more important to utilize video, even as there's more clutter than ever. You bring up Sora, which is what's on everyone's mind who is working in video. And the reality is this: video is still the number one way to communicate with your audience in whatever capacity, whatever your brand is. And so as you develop your brand, you'll just have to decide if your approach is more authentic and you want to actually create video about yourself and your brand and what's going on, or if you believe you can deliver the message by using AI tools. Either way, whatever works with your brand, it's still going to be the most valuable way to communicate with your audience.
Absolutely. See, ChatGPT has integrated the Sora thing. I saw that recently. I haven't tried it as yet, so I don't know the results. But the initial results when they came out with that experiment were very much, promising from one point of view, threatening from another point of view for a lot of people, and
Yeah.
so how would you want brands, individuals, freelancers, production people, how are you looking at it? How do you want your clients to look at it? How would you want individuals to look at these things versus the video that we are creating right now, we were creating till some time back?
So you have to separate people that work in the industry from everybody else, because if you're working in this industry and you're creating video and you're not learning AI, you're doing yourself a disservice. Because it's here, it's not going away, and it's accelerating faster than anybody anticipated. For the rest of the world, it's really just a decision. It's another tool, right? And for some people, it'll allow them to create things less expensive. For other people, it'll be a convenience where we'll be able to use it to create the same high level material, but just differently. And it really just comes down to what's telling a story, and telling a story about a brand hasn't changed in decades, right? It's about creating something that that resonates with your audience and that's authentic. And so if you can do it with AI and it works, then why not? but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the right way to go. We work a lot in the nonfiction space at Bottle Rocket, which is to say we do a lot of documentary work, we do a lot of corporate work, explainer videos, and so that all of it, is steeped in telling a story with the truth, right? And so, us as an example, as we embrace AI, we're not necessarily embracing AI to alter the truth or to mislead. We're just using it as another tool for creation. The same way my graphic designers use Adobe After Effects, or my camera operators and cinematographers use different lenses and different lights, right? It's just another tool to help create.
Absolutely, absolutely, Dan. So, in terms of video, then, how should one use video in today's time? Should we look at it purely because see, video is everywhere on everyone's phone and everywhere. With everyone knows how to shoot a video in one way or the other with the use of video conferencing and all those things. Everyone knows what video is, and a lot of people tend to think that I can make my own video. All I have to do, and the tools are also there. Earlier you had to go to a tool. The tools are here coming to you in large numbers, several of them free. So how should brands look at this in terms of, because if video making is very easy, then what is the differentiator between an expert and a non-expert? Earlier video, the medium itself was the message. Now what is the differentiator here?
Right. Well, the differentiator is, I think, story, and being able to create at a higher level with video, right? Anybody can turn on their phone and take an image or record an image of themselves talking to the audience. But it turns out that the age of followers is fading. And really, the way the algorithms work now is really about interest. So if you show interest in a subject, then you will get fed more of that subject. And so you really need to use video in a way that that reaches the audience that you want. If you're a public health expert and you want people to learn about taking care of themselves, you have to create content that will be appealing to that audience. And if that audience is a boomer versus a millennial, it's going to be different content. And so I think the differentiator is, a professional will be able to look at it from the top down, be able to, engage and with the brand and create a story that's effective for that brand. That's part one. And I think the other part is just, like anything else, first impressions matter. And so if you're creating low fidelity video for a high-end company, it's just not going to connect. It's not going to be, authentic to that brand. And so you really need to think about how you want to represent yourself. And, we have plenty of clients where, they want to do a daily social media feed and they want to, do it on their phone. And we encourage that. And we also say, we refer someone to do that while we do, the higher end marquee stuff, because they want to have, a certain appeal from the get-go, like the big brand videos. And so I think that's really the difference. There's some people doing some really high-end stuff with phones. So it's not necessarily about more gear or bigger gear. It's really just knowing how to use it, knowing how to use it appropriately.
Absolutely. Now let's come to the length of a video. Earlier we used to think, in news it was different, for brands it was different, for advertisements it was different. But now people are optimizing it for all these platforms, social media platforms, YouTube, in terms of, TikTok and everywhere. And earlier it was 15 seconds, then it was 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds. And now you have this whole thing about, till 3 minutes. And everybody has forgotten almost about the bigger ones, where you could tell the story. You had ample amount of time, the bandwidth. That bandwidth is gone. That attention span is gone. So how do you decide? How do you suggest your clients what is the right length of video that will be good for their brand, that will be effective, impactful?
So I'm not an expert on duration. I kind of default, I kind of let my team tell me, you know, because recently we're making a TV show, and you know, I'm told that the algorithm on YouTube wants longer. Longer is better, you know, and as a result, we're doing 30 minutes. We're doing a bunch of 15-second shorts. We're doing, you know, 90-second promos and trailers, you know, and the platform does dictate it a little bit, right? For example, on YouTube, obviously it can be any length duration, but they have the shorts, which are usually 15 seconds. On Instagram, they just extended the duration that videos can be. So, you know, I think it's to 90 seconds. But it, you know, you kind of, you know, like, at the risk of sounding repetitive, it really depends your audience. You know, it really depends what you're trying to say. And so for a lot of campaigns that we do, you know, we are distributing content to all the platforms: X, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and each one has slightly different criteria. For me as a creator, you know, unless I have to hit a specific mark because of the commercial, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, 60 seconds, you know, we try and encourage our clients to let the piece be what it should be organically. And usually that's somewhere between, you know, somewhere plus or minus 2 minutes, where like we can tell a concise story, we can infuse some emotion, you know, we can deliver some specifics, and then we're out. 2 to 2:30, you know, because it's unnecessary to create. Well, I don't want to say unnecessary, but you know, typically we say if they can read it on the website, we don't necessarily need to repeat it in the video. Because if somebody's really interested in you or your company or your brand or your product, they will read more, but the video will draw them in first.
Absolutely, absolutely. There was another question in my mind. I think if it comes back, I'll ask you. But in terms of then, you know, in terms of, yeah, it came. Earlier, there was this pre-production. Then there was this post-production, production, and now post-production. With everything coming in, you know, how much will be there for post-production? Because this whole debate is also about authenticity. And if you put too much of, you know, embellishments on any video, then it will fall down a bit down on that
Yeah,
authenticity part, will
yeah.
make too made up. How do you
So,
balance all these things? What is your advice?
well, sometimes you want it to feel over the top and effective, right? I watch some films that are obviously very CGI, you know, animals talking, moving, you know, people interacting with it, like, and that's intentional, right? But I'm old school. I've been in this business long enough to say that when I first learned how to edit, I learned on film. And so for me, pre-production is the most important part because I try and do as much in the camera as possible, right? And so I don't naturally um, resort to effects, right? And as you said 10 minutes ago, AI is a game changer. And so, for example, recently we did a shoot, and there was a model on a raft in a pool, and her toes were out of focus, and so we gave her new toes in post production just because it looked better for the shot. And so, you know, there's I think you know right away, and sad to say, usually budget dictates a lot, so you can't go over the top. But if you spend a lot of time preparing before you shoot, or before you start animating, or before you do anything, which is developing the script, really understanding the brand, creating mood boards, you know, then you won't go over the top because that will just dictate what you do, right? It's easy now. I can open up an edit system and I can take a 3-second shot and I can turn it into 6 seconds. I could take this video and I could turn my face into, you know, anything I want. But if there's no purpose, if it doesn't match your message, then, you know, if you let your message guide you, then it won't matter.
Right. So is that a challenge for bigger brands, bigger companies, because they want to go upstream, but if
Yeah,
you can't, if you go down, then it will not reflect your brand in that right
yeah,
manner. So they do
yes.
not have that headroom or space. How what is it that they can? Anybody else can do it. They can
So
just create.
yes. So this is what's happening. Bigger brands, first of all, any shiny object they chase, right? And so I always instruct the team, that we are being hired to say no to them. We are being hired to discipline them because that's a big that. And you asked earlier about the difference between professional and somebody who's really good with the camera. That's part of it. Like I engage in dialogue with the brand of if this is what you want to achieve, this is how you have to achieve it, and ignore the shiny object on the side, right? But what is happening in the States is a lot of bigger brands are developing um, in-house departments so that they can experiment. And I actually think that's a good idea, because you know media is disposable now. And so you can create a video, and if it's wrong, provided it's not offensive and it doesn't, alienate people, you can make a bad video tomorrow, and by the weekend, everyone has forgotten about it, or likely nobody has seen it. So I think it's smart to create an in-house team that allows you to experiment, that allows you to really really see what's possible within your message, right? And that's for us, our favorite clients is there's an in-house team, then they're doing the daily stuff, they're experimenting, they're having fun with phones and smaller cameras and medium level animation. And then when they need something to maybe a marquee video for the website or something for a presentation or just maybe some hardcore storytelling, they call us because we have a different perspective. We're not looking from the inside, but we're seeing it from a much higher viewpoint.
Absolutely. Now let's come to data and SEO. Means how should we understand data and SEO? Data still be. What about SEO? Everywhere you see all the platforms, nobody knows. Even the platforms give different versions. Different people keep on talking on different versions. Especially you see Instagram and all these places,
Mm-hmm.
and you just don't know. And then it
Mm-hmm.
changes.
Mm-hmm.
Algorithm change everything. By the time you understand something, somebody else says something, and something else happens. How should one understand about this whole SEO stuff and the data? What data should we follow in today's time?
Well, the data matters. And again, I could say just because of the amount of time I've been doing this, I didn't use data to inform my creative for the first 20 years. And then I finally understood it really matters in that everything is so much more targeted. So you can experiment, you can A/B test, even with videos, you can create different endings, different beginnings, different graphics, different, to see what gets the results that you're going for. As far as the actual data, we follow best practices, and really the Google rules have been what we've been most adhered to. But the best practices don't change. The algorithms change, but the best practices don't. So if you're paying attention to what you're doing and you're doing it right from the beginning, honest, just setting up the website, setting up posting appropriately, like the algorithms will change, but the work doesn't, because you can only do so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to understand then, should or are companies now looking at production video creation for social media differently, and for the mainstream media advertisements and anything else differently? Will they have to look at it differently then? Because social media algorithms are totally different. The audiences might be in overlap, but mainstream media, if you are running an advertisement there, you know there it is a much more different audience, and no what you call no SEO there. There it will be purely the audience of that particular media?
Yeah, I mean, you have to create media for the platform, right? You have to know the platform. If you're going to run an ad on Hulu, that's going to feel different than if you're going to buy an ad on Facebook, right? It just will. But the way we use data is it informs us on who our audience is, and so then we can craft, the script and craft the media, whatever it is, for that audience. And at the end of the day, right, it has to resonate. Now there is a future situation where AI advertisement will be creating advertisement to talk to other AI bots, and that's a completely different thing. That's all data. Like, I don't know if you saw that Meta released what their plans are for the future. Which is to say, a client can upload a photo of their brand and click the AI button, and AI will take care of everything else, from headline to to call to action and all of it. And all you have to do is upload it, pay, decide how much your ad is worth, and they'll take care of it. And to me, as a creator, that's horrible to see. But at the same time, like, I know that there's going to be a point where the marketing side of this company will be creating ads to talk to other computers. It's just going to be computers talking to computers. If
Absolutely.
I have an AI bot on my email that filters out everything, but I wanted to let in camping supplies or something, stuff about camping or backpacking, then that will come through because my bot will hear what the other bots are saying. So that's down the road. We're actively learning about it, but we don't know what it's going to be yet.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with that. Created by bots, created by AI, and for the bots itself, and the
Yeah,
bots will listen to it. Perhaps either the bots will block it or listen to it, but humans will
right.
perhaps have their own views on this. So, as an entrepreneur, as the director of Rocket Media, principal and all, Bottle Rocket Media, how would you term these times for you? Are these the best of times or not so good times in terms of video production? How would you like to tell the world?
Oh, I mean, the jury is out, but I think it's an exciting time. I think, yeah, it's a democratization of storytelling. I think right now, in particular, literally right now, if you go on social media, and I primarily use Instagram, it's cluttered, right? All the new technology is out. People are using it, like, for very trite examples of what they can do and how they can create with AI. Once that dies down, and and the real serious people start showing what they can do, I think it's a very exciting time. I mean, in the media sector in the States, I think there's a lot of legal battles to be had because of copyright. But that aside, I think, my whole life um, I've been told, if you can imagine it, you can create it. And that hasn't always been true, because there's always been restrictions on budget, or restrictions on location, or restrictions on talent. And all that is out the window, because with AI, you really can, if you can think of it, you can do it. And so that's exciting. And if it's used properly, used for positive ideas, then it's a fantastic game.
Wonderful. There's so much to learn from you about all this, and I'm sure, Dan, a lot of people, a lot of brands, companies would want to connect with you. A lot of people would want to know about your company, Bottle Rocket Media. What is the best way for them to do so?
The best way is bottlerocketmedia.net. And then you can find us on all the social media platforms as well. Instagram and TikTok, I think it's Bottle Rocket 312 as a Chicago area code. And Facebook is Bottle Rocket Media. But the best way is to come to our site, check out our stuff and just say hi.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining
Yeah.
us.
Thanks a lot for having me.